Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, back once again with another amazing video. Hopefully, yes, we're doing why did the Protestant Reformation happen? I'm guessing this is when I don't know if you've seen Christianity. There's Catholics and Protestants. Like those are the two, I guess, two main ones, right? I'm not, like I've said in previous videos, I'm not really a religious person, so. Because so I guess Catholics kind of came first, about Christianity, and then it kind of then I guess broke off where Protestants, kind of became a thing, and I guess this is the time period where that happened. I, because I know early the 30 Years War we did that, basically it seemed like a war over basically religion, that was definitely very interesting, and I think that I guess this is where Protestants basically that religion becomes I guess a factor. I guess maybe there was already it was Protestant was a thing, but it wasn't really popular. I guess this is where it takes off. I could be completely wrong, but I don't know. I thought this video it sounded interesting, so I'm going to jump into this. I find religion interesting and in general, and it'd be kind of cool to kind of get a little bit of understanding of of the roots and how it came to be, I guess, kind of thing. I don't know. Anyways, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button below, and yeah.
Protestant Reformation is widely known for Martin Luther's publication of his 95 Theses, or Disputation of the Power and...
I'm pausing because Holy Roman Empire, you got to do the 30 Years War, so you got a lot of this. It definitely looks very familiar here. Oh, Ottoman Empire, I'm actually in the process of, I just did a video on that too, and we'll end up doing more videos on that, so that's kind of cool. But anyways, yeah, back to the video.
Of his 95 Theses, or Disputation of the Power and Efficacy of Indulgences, and marks a second schism of sorts for the Catholic Church. In reality, the Reformation of Western Christianity was long in the making, and Martin Luther was not its only leader. While many view the start of the Protestant Reformation as having been in 1517 following the publication of Martin Luther's Theses, the actual date of its beginning is somewhat unclear. There were essentially three main reformations.
I don't think I've heard of the Martin Luther Theses. Like, is this like a different kind of like different amendments of the Bible or something? I don't know really what this is, but okay, interesting.
The date of its beginning is somewhat unclear. There were essentially three main Reformation movements, one in Germany, one in England, and one in Switzerland, with all of them occurring around the same time in the 16th century. The German Reformation, led by Martin Luther, is generally the movement that most people think of when the topic is discussed. Martin Luther, prior to the Reformation, was actually a professor of theology and a priest. During his time as such, Luther was sent to represent the observant German Augustinian monasteries in Rome between the fall of 1510 and spring of 1511, where he came to notice a lack of spirituality throughout Rome that left a lasting negative impression on him. This pessimistic view of the church only worsened after Luther discovered a Dominican friar, Johann Tetzel.
Okay, so yeah, he wanted basically the church to kind of be more of a popular thing where people can, I guess grab a hold on to. I guess he's saying, well, maybe if we kind of change the religion to be more inviting, I guess, kind of be more modern, then people will be more likely to kind of grab a hold of it. I'm guessing that's kind of where this is going.
Only worsened after Luther discovered a Dominican friar, Johann Tetzel, who preached that sins could be forgiven by the purchase of a letter of indulgence approved by the Pope, allowing for one's soul to skip time in purgatory before entering heaven. The money from these indulgences was being put toward the rebuilding of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, which Luther bravely claimed should be paid for by the wealthy Pope himself. In response to this indulgence controversy, Luther wrote his 95 Theses, which was supposed to inspire a debate about the issuance of indulgences, with the assumption that his concerns would be heard and understood. Copies of the propositions were sent out to a few friends, and to Archbishop Albert of Mainz, who was Tetzel's superior, accompanied by a request for the friar's preachings to be stopped. Luther's grievances were not met with the reaction he anticipated, and his disapproval of the church began to expand into growing theological disagreements. By 1518, Luther had come to believe that the view of the church, which stated that salvation came from both the grace of God, in addition to good works and human actions to earn reconciliation, was utterly false, and that humans were unable to earn salvation. It was simply an act of God's forgiving grace. Furthermore, Luther came to the conclusion that the Bible itself should be viewed as the only reliable source of information and authority, as opposed to the teachings of the Church and the Pope having that role. Since the printing press had recently been discovered, this...
Okay, so maybe, like, I think, like, the Pope and, like, other, priests or whatnot, I guess they're kind of translating it, in the way they want it translated to the people, to kind of get the people to, and what they want the people to believe. So maybe it's not a clear translation to the people. And so he wants to people, hey, you guys need to learn this yourself and not through the words of, the Pope kind of thing. I guess that's kind of where he's going at, because maybe it's not really exactly the same kind of thing.
This gave Luther a vast advantage, as new translations of the Bible could now be printed and provided to anyone with the ability to read, so that they could learn from the Bible themselves instead of relying on priests and other clergy members. In Switzerland, a Reformation paralleling Luther's began around 1522 under the guidance of Huldrych Zwingli, William Farel, and later John Calvin. Zwingli, a priest, taught similar ideas to what Martin Luther was preaching in Germany, but on an even more radical level. Beginning in Zurich...
I'm kind of curious, because I figure, like, the Catholic Church, would see this as being obviously very radical, and I'm surprised maybe there wasn't attempts for assassination. Well, maybe there was, I just haven't been told yet, but it seems like, someone trying to switch things up and try to start maybe a different movement, might, cause, disturbance to where they would try to stop him, I guess.
Zwingli's movement quickly took a stronghold in the city, and by 1526, Farel, a fellow reformer, began to assist him in spreading the message to the French-speaking parts of Switzerland, giving sermons in different cities, including Geneva. In 1536, Farel met John Calvin, who authored the Institutes of the Christian Religion Doctrine, and would help Farel to organize the Reformed Church of Geneva. Additionally, Martin Luther was not the only reformer to translate the Bible into vernacular for the masses to read themselves, as the Swiss did the same. The Reformation also...
That's right, because the Bible was originally in Latin, right? And then so basically there's transitioning to English or whatever language, I guess, the people it is, so people can just, read it themselves, So that definitely makes perfect sense, so...
masses to read themselves, as the Swiss did the same. The Reformation also spread rapidly in Switzerland, and Calvin's work reached as far as Scotland to the west and Transylvania to the east. As both Calvinism and Lutheranism gained traction throughout Europe, England fell into its own Reformation. In the far west, King Henry VIII prompted the Third Simultaneous Reformation for both religious and political reasons. Mainly, the monarch was outraged by Pope Clement VII's denial of an annulment for Henry's marriage to Catherine of Aragon. In 1534, the English king declared...
Yeah, I actually remember, remember this, through, just the tutors, I guess, Interesting.
Of Aragon. In 1534, the English king declared that he should from then on be the only final authority on all matters within the English Church, thereby establishing the Anglican Church and the start of a new Reformation movement. King Henry also insisted that the Bible be made available for the people, demanding that every parish obtain a copy, and additionally requiring that liturgy be prepared in English. Paralleling Henry's changes, Scotland also joined the reforms thanks to the inspiration John Knox received from John Calvin back in Switzerland.
I think it's a good idea anyway, because you can spread the faith a lot easier if everyone had their own copy, because a lot of people can't make it at church, but, it'd be a lot easier, I think, for someone just to gain their own copy of the Bible, and you get more people into it and to follow it more because they have a copy, and they don't have to, they kind of know what's going on with it instead of just what someone preaches to them in a church, which is, I don't know, I think people would, I don't know, grab more hold if they personally had a copy. They kind of take it more personal than, just someone, spilling, I guess their translation of it to them. I don't know.
Knox now formed the Presbyterian branch of Protestantism. Eventually, though shamefully late, the Catholic Church formulated a systematic response to the growing Protestant Reformation in the form of what is simply called...
This kind of makes sense because, if I remember correctly from the 30 Years' War, like, this part right here was a big Protestant area, if I remember correctly, from the 30 Years' War. So it's kind of neat to kind of see some of these spots kind of pop out as more Protestant because, obviously in the 30 Years' War, there was definitely more bigger pockets in certain areas, what people believed in. So it's definitely kind of interesting to see this kind of play out here.
Called the Counter-Reformation. Although some steps were taken to address the reformers earlier on, such as the excommunication of Martin Luther back in 1521, the Catholic Church as a whole failed to do much at the start. The first major move...
So I say the Catholic Church failed at the start, which means, I guess they didn't think much of it at the time, I guess. And now that the ball's rolling, they're like, uh-oh, like we need to do something about this. When, like, hindsight, they probably would have stopped it in its tracks immediately because obviously you get the 30 Years' War is basically a big, Christian war, Protestants versus Catholics. So I guess now Catholics are going to try and stick their nose into business here and try and stop this.
The Catholic Church as a whole failed to do much at the start. The first major move taken by the Church was under Pope Paul III, who called for the Council of Trent in 1545. The three-part series of councils held between 1545 through 1563 not only addressed the challenging of Catholic doctrine by the Protestants, but also established decrees of self-reform. In the first council, the bishops in attendance were divided as to whether full-out reform was needed or simply a clarification of Catholic doctrine. Many issues were discussed, such as the Creed of Nicaea and Constantinople, which was confirmed as the foundation of the Catholic faith. The number of...
Okay, so they're debating now, I guess, if there's going to be a Catholic, viewing. I mean, not Catholic, a Catholic view and a Protestant view, or if they're just going to change, the Catholic view to have more, to lean more Protestant, or is there's still just kind of like one, I guess we're kind of like a religion instead of having just two different parts, I guess.
Sacrament was confirmed as the foundation of the Catholic faith. The number of sacraments, which should be 7, tradition, which was accepted as a source of faith, as well as other subjects that had been challenged by Martin Luther in particular, which subsequently led to the decision to formally deny the reformers' idea that humans had no ability to earn salvation through behavior such as good works. Political discord put the progress of the council on hold until the next period of talks began in 1551. As the second part started, a growing number of Protestants, mainly from Germany, began to insist upon a re-evaluation of what had been decided upon by the council back in 1545. But nothing of the sort was done, and the council continued on. This time, one of the main subjects addressed was the sacrament of Eucharist. which the Catholic Church confirmed to include that the bread and wine were believed to truly transform into the body and blood of Christ, although not in appearance. This assertion was of course in direct contradiction to the Reformists, which came as no surprise. Further doctrine was solidified before the council was interrupted by political disputes yet again. When Pope Paul IV took over, the whole concept of the council came under serious doubt due to his direct opposition to the notion. Finally, in 1562, Pope Pius IV decided to reinstate the council, and the bishops regathered. During the last leg of the meetings, updated statements and decrees were made concerning Mass, holy orders, purgatory, matrimony, indulgences, saints, and again, more details concerning Eucharist. Reforms were also made for the morals of clerics, and much of the corruption and abuses that had inspired the Protestant Reformation, such as the clerical overspending and favoritism within appointments made to the church.
So basically, like the Protestant had their views, and the Catholics see there's like the Protestant thing taken off, the Protestant side of the religion taken off, and they say, well, we need to make some changes of our own just to keep, everyone from leaving ours to turn Protestant. So they're kind of like tweaking theirs to be more inviting, I guess, for people, instead of everyone just kind of like, leaving the Catholic faith to be Protestant, I guess, kind of thing. Something like that. I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to follow.
Office were soon resolved, allowing the Catholic Church to regain a large amount of its support throughout Europe. Still, it was too late to reverse the break within the Western Church, and Protestantism was on an upward path of growth at a fast pace. To combine the spreading Protestant theology, the Roman Inquisition put a heavy focus on the prosecution of anyone deemed a heretic, such as the Protestants themselves. While the Roman Inquisition was
Yep, but now it's too late. The religion took it, Protestant has taken off, and it's too late to kind of do that. Like, that was something I figured maybe the Catholic Church would have done like way earlier, when, Luther kind of started this whole thing, that would have been the time to stop it in its tracks before it got traction. But now it's way too late, and now basically you're gonna end up having wars because of it, because back then, I guess people like religion's everything to people back then, so that was life to them. So if you try to take someone's religion away, it's usually not going to end well.
Such as the Protestants themselves. While the Roman Inquisition was drastically milder than the previously established Spanish Inquisition, it was famously known for putting Galileo on trial in 1633. Furthermore, the effects of the Protestant Reformation's popularity triggered wars of religion all throughout Europe, with one of the first being fought in France between the Catholics and Protestants, and ending in the regaining of France for the Catholic Church, though also providing a level of tolerance for the Protestants in the area. The 30 Years' War broke out in 1618 as well, mainly in modern-day Germany, and is said to have potentially wiped out 40 to 60% of their population. Other wars with Catholic versus Protestants undertones would include the Scottish Jacobite Rising.
Because a lot of this, some of the stuff you're learning at Protestant versus Catholics, is a lot of this is in movies and TV shows. And that's how I always that's really where I kind of learned more about, I guess, Protestant, Catholic, different kind of Christianities, whatever, is through like TV shows. And I kind of was like, what are the big differences, and yeah, I kind of thought that, Protestant was, Catholics are, I guess, are more traditionalist, and Protestant is more, I guess, is more the new age kind of thing. I don't know how to word it, sorry.
The Schmalkaldic War, the Dutch Revolt, and many more. Even wars that were not solely based on religious conflict were fueled by the disconnect between Catholics and Protestants. Today, though, the relationship between the Western churches is remarkably better than it once was. There is still a sharply clear schism between the beliefs of Protestants and Catholics, and some disputes and even violence have only recently died down, or still remain today in small pockets of the world. The history and existence of the Protestant Reformation not only stands as a vastly significant event due
I think it's just, you don't see much of it just because in this day and age, I believe that like religion's kind of not in the forefront as much as it used to be. I I don't like the way this is just my opinion, or I guess kind of view on an outlook of it, is that there's not as many, like the percentage of people in countries is not rising. It's kind of getting, with the internet and everything and the information age, it's you know heavy religious people are becoming less and less. I find, I mean, I could be totally wrong. You guys can definitely like get mad at me in the comments, for my kind of thoughts on it. And so, since there's not as many people, I guess, kind of talking about this, so there's not as many on each side as there used to be. It makes for less conflict, and for the fact that maybe not as many people like believe in it as they used to, years ago, or even like recent years. You know, they kind of have to kind of work together to kind of to still have people kind of believe, you know, and to want to believe and follow the church and stuff. They kind of have to work together so they don't have there's not like a negative uh you know view on it. If they're going against each other, it doesn't look very welcoming, kind of thing. I don't know, no idea if I'm making any sense throughout any of this video, but anyways, I'm sorry. Back to it.
to its contribution to the creation of today's Protestant Christian denominations, but it also shows the true uniqueness of the Catholic denomination, which had clearly survived the Great Schism only a few centuries prior. Now, around the world, we have thousands of smaller Christian branches or denominations, divided mostly into the Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, Anglican, Assyrian, and Restoration denominations. Undoubtedly, the Protestant Reformation more than helped to shape modern Christianity.
I guess that's it. So they're definitely very interesting. I mean, I could be totally wrong. It could be booming. I haven't really done any research on it, but I just, from my point of view, it seems like with people I talk to, I guess more people more open to talk about this kind of thing now. And so, like, I was kind of like growing up, if you said you didn't believe in it, you were kind of, you were frowned upon, like, how can you not, believe in this, blah, blah, blah. But now I think people are more open to like, to not believing, in it. And whether you believe or you not believe, I have as more power to you, like if you believe in it, that's awesome. If you don't believe in it, that's awesome too. Like, I'm not trying to like change anyone's views on anything, as long as I don't care what anyone believes in, as long as you're not hurting somebody else. So, you know, everyone has their own right to believe in what they want to believe in, that's very cool. So I'm just kind of giving my point of view of what I've kind of noticed or whatnot. But anyways, guys, please hit that like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts below, because I know this is a very touchy matter. And yeah, catch you guys in future videos. Always fun and a blast kind of learning new stuff. So anyways, peace. I'm out of here.